Mm-hmm. We're gonna let some of y'all come in the room. I know you're gagging, so are we.
How y'all doing?
Mm. Oh, so you got your phone? Just start a watch party on your thing, Miss Thing. You know
Okay.
the girls get
Yeah.
involved. Hey guys, we will get. I know we late. We had technical difficulties, girl. Don't try us, sis. That's
We
my
didn't
sister.
mean it.
That's my sister Raw talking about we 20 minutes late. We had technical difficulties.
As in, she had to get from a whole nother state.
Right. Hey guys, we will get. I know we late. We will be started shortly. Come on in the room. Share this live. Share this live. We have some select things we'll be talking about today. You know how we do it on Fridays.
All right, I shared it.
Work. So we're gonna let this get up to number 5.
Lucky number 5.
Yes.
Come on, number 5, and bless us.
I think this is the first time that people have seen us on camera like
I
together.
know.
I'm here with my sis. Don't forget, guys, this is an interactive conversation. You can leave comments on through Facebook or YouTube. We're streaming live on Facebook or YouTube. If you haven't been here before, welcome to Grown Black Trans Women Talk Alive. We do this every Friday. This is the live show component of our podcast. So just a couple of house announcements just to get us started. Episode 16 dropped today. So make sure you have downloaded that. If you haven't listened to it yet, have plans to listen to it in the next week. We definitely talked about the Disclosure documentary.
We did. I really enjoyed that conversation. Well, let's unpack that, girl, just a little bit for our viewers.
Okay.
So Disclosure, for those of you who don't know, it's a documentary on Netflix that talks about some of the issues that we face as trans people with representation in the media. And it used several thought leaders and different people of different cultures and ethnicities to talk about how we're perceived in media historically, how that's impacted us, how it impacts our lives, how we see ourselves, and our ability to dream of a future that includes us when we're not included. And it was just such a great conversation, sis. Like, I really can't even so we talked about some of our critiques and some of our likes, but overall I think it was one of the first documentaries that I've really seen that was able to, I think, for the layman, walk you through what it is like for you not to have trans representation on the media. Then what is it like to have trans representation on the media that is problematic? Mm-hmm. And then now that trans media has been problematic, how has it affected and impacted our community? And I feel like a lot of the jokes and the things that have been used against me in my lifetime were formed out of some of these comedic representations that we see that are parodies of Black women that are also problematic. So it was just dope, sis.
Yeah. No, we had a very long conversation. One of our longer episodes in a while, but yeah, it was nice to unpack it and really delve into the analysis. Also to give our flowers to Sandra Caldwell.
Yes.
We love her. And just as a reminder, we know going forward that we cannot say we're the first anything, because we don't know who was here before us, who lived in the shadows, who had to live in stealth. We don't know who was living among us. And also, our history as trans folk, especially Black trans folk, has actively been erased, has actively been suppressed for obvious reasons. So this just encourages me to learn more about my history and about my ancestors that existed right alongside cis people that don't get the shine or the grace that they deserve. So I love the movie. I hope you guys listen to our podcast. I hope you watch the documentary and have some of your own opinions about the documentary. As a reminder, this is an interactive conversation. So whether you're on a watch party, whether you're watching it directly on our page, please interact. Please leave comments. Also, if you are listening on Apple Podcasts, please write those reviews. Please rate us because at some point in the future, we will need to show those reviews and everything to potential people that want to sponsor our podcast or want to run ads on our podcast. So the people need to know that y'all actually are listening and that y'all live for what we do and what we're bringing to the table. So please interact with us. Like we do these every Friday for you guys. So please interact with us. We don't bite. We are opinionated, but we don't want to cancel or shut down. We are really here to engage and interact with one another. So where do we want to start for today?
Well, let's start by doing our check-in, of course, because of course there's a big check-in. What are you doing here, girl? Let's tell them about it. Let's do a check-in. So, my sister lives in Chicago, and she has decided to come spend 4th of July with me, darling, and I'm so excited. And so, yes, sister. So give them your update, and then I can tell how I feel with you being here.
Okay, before I do that, we had a comment in one of the watch parties. It says the documentary was great and that it put more light on the history of the community. I need to make more time to listen to your podcast. Yes, honey, definitely make more time to listen to our podcast, honey. Listen to it as you're working out or you on your way to work. It's really an easy, a nice flowy listen, honey. So yeah. Also, if you guys have any more comments, please be sure to don't hesitate to leave them in the room
because we will respond as you see.
Right. So, oh, what am I doing here? I had to get the fuck out of Chicago. Like I literally been in Chicago for since the quarantine happened, and I took as much as I could take. But I had to get away, and I know everybody was like, "Well, you came to Georgia. Georgia is on fire." And yes, it is for all intents and purposes. But I know I believe that Corona and all of that is real. So sis definitely has a full pack of masks. I wore a mask on the airplane. I have hand sanitizer. Before I came here, I was at a hotel, a secluded hotel for a couple of days, I just needed to be in a space in a nice hotel bed just to sleep in. And I actually got some really good sleep. Not to say I wasn't able to sleep at home, but sometimes you just need to get away.
Yes, that's what that vacation was for Tierra and I.
Right.
Last week, Tierra and I went to, my husband and I went to Galveston, Texas, and then that was the week it was flaming there, believe it or not. But we stayed inside of our Airbnb, and we just kind of hunkered down. And that was the most isolated that I've ever been on vacation. Right. But it was also the most relaxing vacation I've ever had. And so now I think I'm going to try to make that more going forward, less engagement with people when I'm on vacation,
right?
Less events and outings, and more just chilling in the room, because we rented a beach house. So we just kind of just stayed there, and it was just an amazing experience. It really was. And you would say, like, well, you could have did that at home. Yeah, we could have. But like you say, the change of scenery.
Yeah, and I knew I was going to be safe. Like I said, I had multiple masks, multiple kinds, so there's no tea with that. And I'm just safe. I wash my hands. I'm just safe. I just need it. I'm a girl that likes to travel, and usually the summertime is when I travel. So the fact that I haven't been able to do that has really been impacting my mental health. But I needed to get away, and also I needed to come down here and see you. And I feel like we needed our time together.
We did. I think because what it is too, we're running a business, and so she and I are talking all the time.
Right.
But I think it's important when you are in business with someone that you also care about, someone that is also like a family to you, that it is important that you cultivate those relationships.
Right.
So I was excited to have her because, to be honest, I miss my sisters. So my sister Toya, She came up here last weekend. Shout out to you, Toya. Hey girl, hey girl, hey. So she came here last weekend, and we briefly had to run an errand, and then she left back out of town, and we really didn't get a chance to like socialize. And so I was missing her so terribly when she left. But I was like, it made me feel good knowing that my sister Brianna was coming. And we're all sisters, so it was just cute because I was like, "Well, girl, Bree coming," and she was like, "Okay, girl," because she felt bad about having to leave so fast. So it was a good time. We had a good time. But yeah, girl, thank you for coming. It is so excited to have you here. Like,
no,
as usual, it's not a problem. She's like one of the most low maintenance house people.
Yeah, honey, I just need a bed, honey, and some good circulation, and I'm fine, honey.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I just had to get out, and I have this move coming up at the end of the month, so I just needed to take some time just to clear my head I was able to plan some stuff while I was in the hotel, and I was just in a good space to call people and contact people. So that's going. So yeah, I just need to get away, but I'm always going to be safe when I have to fly back. Well, after this holiday weekend, definitely mask. They have hand sanitizer in the airport, which I knew they were gonna like. So I'm constantly now. What I don't do is I don't use any bathrooms at the airport. So I don't, because I just feel like you get sick when you are putting yourself in those like
confined spaces
with people. Like the airport, that's a given. The airplane, that's 50-50, but like in the bathroom, and then I be seeing people eating mid. Like I don't even know why the restaurants are open. Like because if you're eating and drinking, you have to take off your mask
to eat and drink. Yeah,
like just pay it and eat when you land. But anyway, but yeah, I just you can do it. You just need to be safe, and you just need to know that Corona is real.
Corona is real.
Because when I came down here, I saw the videos of the people going to concerts, going to the bar, So yeah, but I'm happy I made it here safe. I'm happy for my health, and I'm going to continue to do things that I need to do to protect my health. So everybody that's worried, I didn't tell many people that I was coming down here because people are, but I am safe, and I needed to do this for me. So sis, do we want to start with let me ask the people in the room. Do y'all want? So we're going to review. So Grapevine TV just dropped the episode today. Shout out to Grapevine TV about violence against Black trans women. I think we're going to have a discussion about that because my line has been ringing from people in the community. Like, what do you think? Da da da.
And we had a chance to watch it again together just now. Yeah. So yeah, we definitely are in a fresh space to be able to process what that looks like and seems like, it sounds like.
Yeah,
definitely, for sure.
And additionally, okay, let's get to that. That's the good shit. We gotta make y'all wait for the good shit. So Samaya and I were a part of something. We're gonna keep this very discreet. But I'm under the impression that with men who date us that want to be allies, a part of them, we always tell them, hey, step up to the plate, do more.
Yes.
Y'all should be the ones to bear the burden of dismantling transphobia. Because you are in communities with these men.
While you sit and benefit from that privilege, while you sit in these communities and you have the ability to be at tables that we can't.
Right. So starting there. So a lot of the things that we have heard about how some trans amorous men go about undoing transphobia is this tactic of like showing pictures of beautiful and quote unquote passable.
So can I give a little?
Yes, yeah.
Yes. So what happened was we were allowed to participate.
No.
No. We participated in a discussion because we're always moving on different levels in community.
Right.
So we were participating in a discussion with the group that we're collaborating with previously, and it's a group that has trans supportive brothers in it. And of all kinds of whatever, and I'm not going to give the name of the group or anything like that, but we love y'all. We love y'all, and they were we had a wonderful conversation with them because quiet as it's kept, there are some men out there that are organizing on our behalf, or at least beginning to have a conversation about it.
Right.
Because what we discovered in that conversation was that there were some knowledge gaps, some real glaring deficiencies in them really understanding how to support us and be safe in their and make sure that support us and get their truth out, but also make sure that we're safe, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that we were talking about as a topic in that conversation, when we were talking about whether or not trans, how do we get the larger Black community to be concerned about Black trans issues? How do we get the people at Black Lives Matter? How do we get these people to see that to remind them that we founded this, to remind them that like we've been here since the very beginning.
Right.
A lot of social justice work that has come out has been with Black and queer people at the table.
Right.
So how do we remind them of our place in history? And one of the guys so we were asked to come forward with strategies, and one of the guys shared his strategy of getting people to humanize trans people. And his strategy was, I am going to take a girl's photograph that I think is real pretty, and I show it to my friends, and I don't tell her she's trans, and I don't tell the friend that she's trans, and I get him to compliment her or to see how she looks, and then I tell him after the fact that the girl is trans, and watch his face, and it's like, see, you can love them, you can care about them. They're not all men. They are, and they are beautiful, and they can and dateable and attractive.
Right.
And Brianna and I were on this call, like trying to fight from like cursing everybody out. Like,
right.
You ever been?
Because we have to be mindful. We're in a group of men, and
they've invited us into their space,
right? And
they didn't mean us any harm, and they legitimately thought that a good strategy was, we're gonna take one of the girls' pictures, one of y'all pictures, and share it around in the world, and then get people to react. And it was just like, we haven't had the basic conversations that we need to have for you to know me beyond your porn internet fantasies. If you really think that sharing my picture with the world when they're killing us on site is a good thing.
Right.
Like, what if you share it to someone and they didn't like that little teachable moment?
Right.
And now they decide to come after me.
Or I walk right in front of the barbershop and they recognize me from the photo.
That's the man right there. Boom. I seen your picture.
Right.
Or they see her become infatuated, feel a way that they felt duped into complimenting her. And who do you take the aggression out on? The person that wasn't even fucking there. So then they see her out in public a few days after they were both ambushed with a photograph of you, and it's on site because you tricking people.
Right.
And see, what the men didn't understand that we were trying to explain was when you're trying to advocate for a community of people, you don't need a face. If you really are someone that is supportive, you don't have to pull out a picture of one of us for people to get that humans should not be killed.
Right.
You don't have to pull out a picture of us to say, this is what I like. Because ultimately, you're putting the lens, again, on the trans community, and you're saying, if you find her beautiful, you should see her as a human. And that implies the deeper narrative that if you're not real, if you're not beautiful, if you're not, because we know all of these things are subjective.
Right.
If you aren't these things, then somehow you're flawed. Then somehow you aren't worthy of the beneficiary of this policy of life. You don't need to be in here, bitch, if you're not beautiful. And we explained it to them, and they were resistant, as men can be sometimes when they've been challenged. But my sister, her particularly, Brianna, you did a great job. What was your thought, and how did you process that?
Explain how I got.
Yeah. I really didn't want to go again.
So
one of the men that is a friend of hers, and he's a friend of ours, and we collaborated in other ways, in a lot of ways in community.
And it's love. It's love. We're saying this is a key now.
It's a laugh.
It's a key now.
It's a laugh. Because my sister and I are both in a place where we know it was not done.
Right.
Because he gave the most beautiful apology afterwards. He was so apologetic. And so it was no shade to him, but he thought this was a good idea. And what he said was, he's a friend of ours collectively. And he said to my sister,
No, first he said, I agree with the idea.
I agree with the idea. Well, you tell it, girl.
No, you tell it, because
I want you to get the impact. Okay, girl. Okay, but I want you to okay, I'll tell it, but you got to tell how you felt.
Okay.
So enter as soon as I finish telling it. So she ends up, we're sitting on the call. The guy says, I agree with that tactic. Matter of fact, I use another girl, and I also use Brianna's picture, and I give it to people, and I get them to look at her, and then I tell them, you know what, you didn't know she was trans, and he uses her as the example. So mind you, this professional woman who's done everything she can in her life to navigate and have control over her own truth, that has the right to disclose whoever the fuck she wants and no one else. This man took it upon himself in a way that was in his mind the best of intent, but he took it and he took her photograph and was going around showing people and thought in this room full of men that he would be complimented by us, that we would go, oh, Brianna, you real? Not realizing, like, no, you just violated anything about realness. You told that woman's business without even giving her permission, consent, or any type of like, right. Like he didn't, even after the fact, even though they're friends, he didn't hit her in the inbox to say, hey, this is what I'm about to do. You know, it was only when after the call, when we were like, okay, how did you just floor that on it? You know, how do you just, what? And it was only after my sister and him and him actually hearing us talk that I think he really got it. So I will say that was a teachable moment, because he did get it. He did get it, and I truly believe that won't ever happen again. Like, I know he felt crazy. Right. Because he did not expect after that we were going to be like...
Yeah, bitch, it got so bad that we were like talking 20 minutes later, and I was like, no, wait, U-turn, let's circle back. This is not the tea. This is not what's up, because like my whole perspective was like, damn the advocacy. If you are trans attracted and this is a conversation that you want to have, you don't need to involve trans women, or you don't need to bring trans women into a conversation if you are a man and you are talking about your trans attraction. And then what further kind of fucked it up for me is, if you only feel like you can be an advocate if you have a trans woman on your arm, but when you're not in relationships with trans women, you're not an advocate. That's a problem, because the fact is, just because you might not be actively pursuing trans women, or you're not with the trans woman, does not mean that you're trans attracted.
That part.
Even if you're with a cis woman, you are still trans attracted. You're still going to desire trans women. You're still going to. So, in dealing with some trans attracted men, it's kind of like they don't feel like. They feel like they can only advocate if they're in a relationship or if they're involved with a trans woman, which I kind of think is problematic, because whether somebody is in your life or not, I feel like you should still
care about the issues that are related to the people you say you love.
Yeah.
People, you can't love one woman and say, I only love her, and fuck the rest of them.
Right.
That means that you're not cared about her safety, because she's a part of a larger ecosystem that includes all of us. And how people are treating all of us will dictate how she is treated.
Right.
When you're not around.
Right.
And that's what men need to understand. Also, on another level, I thought it was interesting that in that conversation, the men were resistant to participating in the fellowship part, like the actual coming to conferences,
right?
The actual trying to connect. And that was just the more problematic part. Now, it was a couple of reasons given. One of the reasons that they gave was that they didn't feel supported, or they didn't feel welcomed into the space. And while that is probably a valid concern for a small minority, y'all don't motherfucking show up.
You don't.
So let's stop lying like that's the reason why you're not here. The experiences of one person are not the experiences of everyone.
Right.
So then, just because you heard about a friend, a homeboy, somebody that went to an event one time and had a bad experience, doesn't mean that all trans people are one, because that's just like how white people do black people. You heard that somebody said something, so you're going to judge a whole group of people.
Right.
You don't do that. So I want to encourage the trans-supported brothers, whether you be our fathers, our brothers, our family members, our community members. It doesn't have to be just our boyfriends. Come and support and learn the issues that are affecting us. Participate in fellowship. We have a lot of wonderful community events that are open to the public, and they're only trans people that come. You know why? Because the other people say, well, I'm not trans, and that's not my scene. well, I'm not straight, but that's still my scene.
Right.
Because I don't have the luxury of parsing it out. And again, for those of you who think that way, check your privilege. Because you honestly believe, because that doesn't exist in my world, just like how some Caucasian folks will feel, just like they will feel, just because that's not in my world, it's not related to me, it's not something I should be concerned about. So yes, I thought it was interesting that the men were resistant to come to conferences, but I really feel like that's something we should push past. Because if we're not engaging in the love part of the work, then it's hard, and that's where we do the strategic planning in our work. So if you're not there for the loving or the strategic planning, you're not there at the events when we're doing them, you're only there afterwards to meet up with and fuck. And I'm not saying all men are like that, but I am tired of my husband and the few guys that are dating trans men being the only black men and trans women. And men.
Oh yeah.
But men date men. Bitch.
For all of the.
But what I'm saying is that the people that are the cis men that are in the room are partnered. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
So let's put it that way.
Right.
The only time I'm tired of it being that the only cis men in the room are partnered with either whatever they're partnered with, whoever they're partnered with. And it's like, why can't we get cis black men to see that this is a concern? Why you don't have to be gay to be concerned about making sure that these people are okay. It would be nice if we could have some of these community leaders, these black male community leaders at our meetings, so that they could see what state of emergency we're in, the lack of resources that we have, and why we are so adamant about fighting all the time.
Right. Yeah. It was a learning moment for them and an awareness for me that we have to, like, in our interaction with trans amorous men, we have to hammer down, like, this is about y'all. This is not about us. And you don't get to, as women, you don't get to put additional labor on us as women to do your work of coming out to your friends and your associates. Because that's how I felt in that moment. It's like you're using us to kind of like ease whatever you want to say in reference to you being a trans. But then you're not even claiming it. You're not even claiming it because it's, the attraction is okay because it's similar to a regular cis.
You're comparing your.
So
love
you're really not comfortable with it.
You're not comfortable with it yourself because what you're saying is, look, see, I'm normal. You're still trying to say that something inherently is wrong with these people. She looked
just like any other cis one.
And it's like, well, what if she didn't? Because you date those two.
Right, you do.
So what if she didn't? Because that's not clearly why you're here.
Right.
You came for the floor show.
Right.
You didn't come here. You didn't come here to find the most cis woman you could find. Otherwise, you'd be with one.
You didn't. And let's keep it real. The girls that look cis, that requires a lot of money, effort, and maintenance that a lot of y'all cheap motherfuckers aren't willing to.
So if they're not willing to financially contribute to this,
hello,
what are we doing?
Hello,
what are we doing?
Hello.
Okay.
Hello.
Goodbye, bitch.
So let's tell that story. But they are on a journey. They are still new, and I'm all about not canceling, but pushing you and challenging you so you can stand on your own too. Because you should be able to stand on your own, whether a trans woman is in the picture or not.
Exactly. Point blank. Period.
Because you are still attracted whether you are partnered with a trans woman or not.
Exactly.
Whether you're with a cis woman or not, it just doesn't go away just because you decide to date. Because I know plenty of men that marry cis women, had babies with cis women, and they all get that. They always come back. And you come back because it's in you. It's a part of who you are, and you need to know that. So when you're telling other people to advocate for us, be honest about who you are in this whole advocate movement. You are a trans amorous man.
Which brings me to another side topic on that, sis. The way in which these men will use their proximity to privilege to then run game on both us and cis women. And how the cis women, a lot of times, they will make it seem like they were tricked because that's the easiest thing to say when you've been caught with one of us. Because that gives you plausible deniability. Most of these men are approaching us because they know what is going on. And if they didn't, they did they did when we began to talk to them. Right. Because we don't have a vested interest, and we said this previously, we don't have a vested interest in as trans people to lie.
Right.
Lying will get me killed, could possibly, but lying also doesn't benefit me because there's not too many men, to be real with you, when you've attracted a man and he's entered into your realm of influence and y'all have gotten to know one another and you tell him your business, I haven't had, and a lot of us, we know that that's not as much of a barrier as the world would want it to be.
Right.
That people are lying, and these men will use that narrative because it's the easiest thing to explain. How did you end up with that person? But the reality of it is they're looking for us. They're choosing us. These men are self-selecting to find trans women of color to date, have sex with, and then kill because they're ashamed of what that will look like in their families and their communities to the people that they care about. And the community, we have to be mindful that we sometimes can allow certain energy in our space,
right,
that is not productive, that is not healthy, and that's just not in the cis men that are killing us. That's in the space and the ecosystem that's around us. And I think that will lead
some of the cis women we choose to befriend.
That part. Some of the cis women we choose to befriend, some of the allies that we say we have, some of the organizations that we work with, they don't really fuck with us. They're only giving us what they think will appease us while giving the appearance to the public that they're concerned about our lives. But the reality of it is, if you're not at the table, if you're not here to try to at least forward the conversation, share the post, do something to say that trans lives are being killed, then these last 3 women that were killed this week, their lives will also be in vain.
Right.
And I like that we had the conversation with the fellas. I wish just in general that there will be more openness when we say how we feel, that people wouldn't challenge us as much. Because there was a bit of pushback.
I mean, but I expected with men, especially black men.
I had high hopes, and
I knew our position was right. Like, you don't get the right to out me to prove your point, because that's essentially what it was.
Exactly. You don't get the luxury. You don't take away my choice.
Right.
But I think what we have to remember too is that a lot of folks, and this is just me looking at it from another side, because you know me.
Right.
A lot of folk don't really realize that they have the ability to change futures just by very small acts. I think people think what we're asking them to do is some big, going out in the street, beating your breast. Like, that's not what we're asking you to do. We're asking you to not let people misgender us in your presence. Right. We're asking you not to allow people to talk bad about our lives or even to joke about us being killed.
Right.
We ask that you check people that are saying things about that are dehumanizing our experience or pathologizing our experience. For those of us that you love us, or you're our family, or you're our friends, you have a responsibility when I'm not present, when Samaya is not in the room, when Aeon is not in the room, when the lioness is not in the room, you have a responsibility to actually say to these people that is not fucking okay. And I'm not going to be in a space with somebody that would even play around with murder, that would even play around with somebody calling somebody out of their name. Like, in this day and age, if we did the golden rule, doing unto others as we would have them do unto us, we would not be in this situation, because then people would be concerned about how they impact the world. But it's almost like you think, as long as Samaya isn't in the room, as long as Brianna is in the room, as long as these girls aren't in the room, it is okay for us to then allow anyone to besmirch their experience because that's their opinion. Well, what you do when you allow people to have opinions that are hateful is you do like what the white people do when they sit in a room with other white people and they hear them saying racist things and they do nothing. You become a part of the problem. Mm-hmm. Because if we're being killed and at a time such as this, you can't say it's not okay, then you don't really love me.
Right.
You don't really care about me. If at a time such as this, where we're getting multiple girls being murdered a week in extremely violent ways, you can't say, I'm not allowing it in my space. I'm going to do the best I can to try to make sure that around me, we're not having these kinds of conversations. Because just like you, I wouldn't let you talk about my mama or these other people or my cousin that with a disability or my friend that's fat. You need to remember that trans people are human beings too. And it's not okay to talk about us, whether we're anything. And all of the intersections there to ascertain, you still have to remember that if you say you're an ally, you have to be responsible. Responsible allies are what we need, not just on paper.
Right. So it was a hard moment, but like I said, I'm glad we went through it because now I'm aware, and now I even know when it happens again, I know this is about you. This is not about me. And if you want to be a better ally, step up to the plate. And don't challenging you when I'm telling you what I need. I'm telling you this is offensive to me. I'm telling it makes me uncomfortable. And you, when they were refusing to get it or acting like they didn't understand, you did the bomb thing. It's like, well, how would you like if the girls had your pictures and went around to everybody showing your pictures saying that you didn't know he messes with trans women, that you didn't know he does this in the bedroom,
and they gagged. And they gagged. Now, at first, they were resistant.
Yeah.
They were like, even when I said it, they still couldn't relate it to themselves. But I had to repeat it again. What if I screenshotted y'all on this call right now and started passing this around and saying, look, they like trans women. They like trans women. Y'all will be devastated.
Right.
Well, then that's not okay for you to take your favorite trans and favorite friend and use them as an object, because that's what you're doing.
Right.
You're not even accounting for the fact that this person has a feeling, that this person has a life that may be impacted by what I'm doing. You're just using them as an object. If you have an opinion, state your opinion. You don't always have to use visual imagery, because then you convey that if it doesn't look visually appealing, it's worthy of death.
Right.
And that's not okay.
Basically, either. In a nutshell.
Yes.
But big ups to that conversation. Big ups to that group. I hope y'all implement some of the stuff that was talked about in that.
And I think they are. I've been in contact with some of the members, and I think that they are. So I think that difficult conversations are necessary. And Brianna and I have the unique gift. There were other women on the call. Shout out to all the other women that were on the call that may be watching. But what I love about our unique gift is we have the ability to hold space in a way that is still affirming, while also being a moment of maybe even being critical.
Right.
Maybe even a moment where I'm having a challenge. We know how to have conversations with people in a way that I feel like is still affirming to their dignity. And I feel like at this point in time, this conversation has to be had with dignity. And you can read someone and not make it to where they are closed. And I think that conversation was a great example, because at the end, the men kind of understood. Or at least
most of them.
Well, most is not. Well, so that's why I said the men. I'm gonna give credit to the most, because the few are always going to be the few.
Right.
But the most of them, the men on the call, most of them got, at least they were. You could hear at the end the question mark going off, the light bulb going off. Mm-hmm. So that was an amazing thing for me.
Yeah. So, transitioning to the big topic that I'm sure everybody has been waiting to hear since it was posted a couple of hours before we came on. The Grapevine.
I heard it through the Grapevine.
Yeah, the Grapevine. So for those of you who don't know, the Grapevine is a web-based show that is usually shown on YouTube. It's like a round table discussion of like Black millennials, and they discuss different topics that impact Black millennials. And it's a really good show. It should be noted that they have attempted to touch on transgender topics in the past, which has been pretty problematic in the earlier years, because there were times where they were talking about disclosure and there were no Black trans women at the table, and I think they got it was a trans man at the table.
Wow. But it wasn't any trans women at the table. Okay, that's powerful. Yeah, but
so,
they evolved then.
Yeah, they're evolving. I think they want to do better. They did a conversation last year about like Black identities and LGBT identities for Pride. That was a step up. I felt like that show could have been better, but it was an improvement for the first show. So the show that came out on Friday, it was a whole panel of Black and Latinx trans women, and they talked about the uptick of violence against trans women that has impacted all of us. So I feel like we should start off with the good before we go into our critiques.
Of course. So, we maybe can even sandwich it, a good, a bad, and then follow up with good.
So let's start here. Miss Mojo, motherfucking Disco. Let's give a hand clap to her, to my sis. Hey, Miss Mojo, I don't know if you're watching, bitch. You were everything on that panel. I think you were the heart of the panel. I feel like you said everything that needed to be said. and every time it was kind of a rough part
Girl,
of the video,
she was
able to bring it back
baby,
around. And
you better be the rock of Gibraltar, sis.
Right.
Because we were leaning on you.
Yeah,
you really pulled it through.
I really enjoy her perspective. I also enjoy Miss Autumn. Shout outs to you.
Yes.
Yeah, she was everything. I really
love your nails, girl.
Right, yeah, her nails, her hair, everything. Like I really enjoy a majority of the ladies. I feel like everybody for one, I just want to say it felt good seeing that many black trans women on screen.
It was so affirming. I want to say, how many was it total? I want to say like 6.
It was like 7 or 8, I think.
Might have been 8 or 9 or 7 or 8. 7 or 8 probably. Yeah. But it was enough that it was powerful. We know it was at least less than 9 because we know that, but it was like 7 or 8. But yeah, it was a powerful feeling. It was really, really good. I enjoyed, like you said, Autumn. I think she did a great job.
Right.
I like her perspective. I like that she came from a very it felt like a very youthful point of view, the way she was looking at things. And I like that she is one of those young well, I perceive her to be younger than me, but you know, those one of the younger trans women that I feel like really get it, and it's like it's okay to, and it feels okay to step in her truth and share it in a way that is articulate and beautiful. Shout out to Mojo as well, sis. You really was dope. But
go ahead.
The but was, we have a lot of people that we engage with in community, and like I want y'all to know, there's no one opinion. So when you tune in to Box Number 512 podcast, you're getting the appearances, the opinions of the Lioness and Aeon. You're not getting the opinions of the entire community. Why? Because we are not the entire fucking community. We're only 2 people. Anybody that's going to get online and say they speak for the community is a problem. We speak for issues related to the community, issues that we've collaborated with other people on, so that we're informed and we're sharing what we've learned from our experiences based on our, our engagements with other people in community. And because both of us are pretty connected, we like to say that we're on the pulse of what we're all talking about. But no one in community is I think, the speaker. Right. So let me say that first, because I feel like some girls feel like they are.
This is true.
So there was a couple of conversations that were had, and what I saw was some of the trans women not like using space that was given to us to talk about real trans issues, particularly the issue of us being murdered. That was the entire purpose. And I felt like there was one particular person or that was, I think, intent on trying to make it about cis women and our relationship with them. And don't get me wrong, I get that the conversation has multi-layers. I get that there are all kinds of different levels to this thing. There are intersectional conversations that need to be had. That was something that was,
I felt like but the whole thing is an intersectional conversation was being had by virtue of the topic.
Right. And that was the thing. So I think that there was a thing where some people in our community feel like they have to apologize for our existence.
And that's definitely a section of girls in our community
that very much feel, I don't have the luxury of saying I'm a woman.
Or no, I am a trans woman and I am beneath.
Right. Because because that's what I was going to say, a woman, because I'm not a real woman, I'm a trans woman.
Right.
So then they feel like that makes them somehow a second-class citizen. And what they end up doing is spend a majority of their time trying to convince cis folks that that I'm not a threat to you. Not realizing, cis, they never felt threatened by you. They feel like they can attack you. You're a target.
And it's kind of like this apologizing, like, you are the blueprint and I give my homage to you. And
you are the blueprint. Yeah, there's no one that comes before you.
Like Big Sister Beautiful, like this.
And I support it. Don't get me wrong. Live, love it, think it's amazing. However, I have a problem when we are in our own space talking about our own murders and somebody is caping for a community that's not caping for them.
Right.
At the end of the day, we are one of the only communities where when we get killed, it is no conversation being had in the larger Black community about it. Even when little Ray Ray and Pookie them go die down the street, there's a community that even in their communities, there's a conversation. Somebody misses them. The hood cries. They may put up teddy bears. They may have a memorial for him.
Right.
They will have a thing with the family, because we as Black people, we mourn our dead. We grieve our dead. We believe in honoring the fallen by making sure that when they pass away, we remember them, right?
Right.
Well, the problem is that when we're killed, and we are equally born in the same households as y'all, we were born in the same communities, we're your children, we're your nieces and nephews, we're your brothers and sisters, and you're telling us that when we die, or when we're being taken off, picked apart one by killers, that is not a conversation that we can have as a community, and that we have to juxtapose ourselves to other women to have that conversation. Like, at the end of the day, whether you see me as cis, real, whatever, I'm a human. I'm somebody's child. I'm somebody's community member. And if you say you love Black people and you love Black community, and then why wouldn't you care that how my mother would be devastated if I was killed? And she didn't do anything to deserve that trauma of you killing her child. My brother, my family, my cousins, my aunts and uncles, they would be devastated if you took the time to kill me because you didn't like me. And I feel like as Black people, it's really crazy to try to convince other Black people that your life matters when they look at you and say, oh, but you one of them other things. But I'm Black first, like y'all want to remind me. I'm Black always. I'm Black and trans. I can't separate the two. So the idea that even in that conversation with these trans women, that there was this one woman that was being like an apologist to larger Black culture, that was making it like, y'all don't owe us shit. No,
yes, you do.
Yes, the fuck you do.
Yes.
You owe me the right to live free like you want to be free. You get up off my motherfucking deck if you want the cops off yours. That part. You owe me the right to be able to live and navigate freely in this world, because I am a community member. I pay my taxes, and I'm Black. And I'm Black, and I'm just like you. And my mama and your mama went to school together, or your mom and my mama are sisters, or our family members are related, or you know somebody that loves me and cares about me. And if you treat me bad, you're actually disrespecting the community that I'm a part of. And I don't understand why we have to make these qualified statements when we hold Black people accountable. I'm not saying I want more than you. I want what you have, and you won't even let me get that.
Right. And it's like, we can hold people accountable and still love them. Like, we can call you out and still love you, but this whole, well, they're going through so much and nobody's holding them. It's like, bitch, nobody's holding us either. Like,
we are holding them. And that's the crazy part
about?
That she didn't get. We're holding them.
Right.
We hold Black women all the time because that's who we are, because we are Black.
And never get the
They
credit.
don't see us as the white women, but we see them as our sisters.
Right.
So we're upholding Black women all the time.
Right.
Anybody that has a trans friend in their life, you are a blessed woman, because y'all know what we bring to the table. We are wonderful people, great entertaining people, people that have a love and a joy for life.
Right.
But for those of you who don't know, you're going to look at this conversation, you're going to see two angry trans women, and you're going to say, oh, here they go again. Not realizing that we're angry because we're, once again, day before yesterday, another girl was killed in Dallas. Like, we're telling you that we're getting murdered almost every day.
And those are the murders that we even know about.
Right. These are the ones where, thankfully, they were involved enough, or they had enough people that knew that they were trans enough for us to correct the narrative. But let's be transparent. When we die, even when we get our name changed, the media will put up our dead name. Yeah. They will misgender us. They don't give a fuck. And that's what's crazy is you now are making my investigation more difficult, because you're putting information out there that isn't accurate and that is going to slow down my loved ones and other people who can give you information from being able to help you with your investigation. But that's what the media does to us. And y'all fall into it when you go and you share the narrative and you share stories and you talk about people and you make fun of them and you allow people in your circle to do it. And when you're in a space as a trans person where you decided to take the mantle to speak for community, and you use that time, that wasted, valuable time for us to talk about Black lives, talking about other lives. Shade.
Right.
Intended.
And no shade. I kind of feel like it tarnished the conversation towards because I feel like it was a lovely conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Do I
shout out to Ashley Breath? You were also wonderful in that comment.
Hey, Ashley of Tea Time and the Girls.
Yes.
Love you.
Hey.
I feel like it was a beautiful conversation, and it kind of like put us it tarnished the conversation. But Autumn and Mojo were able to kind of come and repair it at the end and bring it back around to what it was supposed to be about. But I just felt like we didn't need to we are not victims for talking about our lived experiences.
That part. That doesn't make me a victim to hold you accountable.
Right.
To actually explain to you what you did.
Yeah, I didn't agree with that.
Matter of fact, that takes courage. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't agree with the fact that we are victimizing and doing the oppression the trauma Olympics, which I think is funny to say because that's usually the argument against intersectionality. People try to say, well, this is not the trauma. And it's like, no, this is not the trauma Olympics. It's looking at the marginalized intersections of my identity to see how they create a unique experience of oppression. Like this part is not, so you can understand what we go through as cis women, but I didn't like how that person characterized it as us being victims. How we shouldn't expect anything from cis Black women. I'm sorry, as somebody that has a Black cis mama, I'm expecting some shit from her. Yes. As somebody that gave birth to a child that happens to be trans. I'm sorry.
I do have expectations.
I have expectations
that you not let people.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
I do have expectations. I have expectations of those that say that they're concerned or care about my life. That they are concerned or care about my life when I'm not around.
Right. I have expectations.
I do have expectations.
And we should. And I don't think we should be made to feel bad. Like everybody, like Black women is not. We all got shit going on, but we still make time to show up for everybody. So why can't that be returned?
Also, I want Black women to know.
And if we wouldn't even brought in the cis woman thing, we could have focused on the Black cis men that were killing us. Right.
Because that's the problem. So let's bring it back. Okay, let's bring it back. Bring it back. Cis women. This ain't.
I didn't even know why that had to come into
my cis sisters. We were only talking about how this person brought y'all into a conversation and wanted to make a point and trying to grandstand on cis women's behalf at the expense of the conversation that everyone else was trying to have. She was having her own in another universe. And so that's what we were talking about. And in talking about that, I don't want to miss our point, which is our beef is not with cis women, not primarily. It's secondary, definitely. Right. But it's just like it's secondary that the rest of the world is fucked up. Our issue, most importantly, is with the people that are motherfucking putting us in the ground. The people that are cutting us up and throwing us in legs. The people that are shooting us all the time. Our beef is with Black cis men and the way that you kill us. And the way that you play into the minds of all women to believe that we're somehow different and that you don't like both, and when you really do. And so then what you end up doing, they're setting the platform, ladies. So now I will speak to cis women in this way. Cis women, these men are setting the platform for you not to be concerned about them being violent to women and feminine bodies by trying to downplay the fact and trying to make you feel like we're trying to take something from you because they're putting us against each other by playing both sides against the middle. Many of us are not trying to break up nobody's families. Many of us are just simply navigating, doing what we do, and men come find us and then bring their life into our life. And now I'm in the middle of some family shit I didn't know nothing about.
Right.
That just like they do with any other woman. But to bring it back to this issue, trans murders are happening by cis men, Black cis men. And to make it that it's intimate partners of trans women. And that's important to notate too, intimate partners, not people who are randoms. Intimate partners, like y'all don't stay around for the investigation. And I think the reason why people don't stay around for the investigation is because that's the hard part, right? Like actually now that I'm not just sharing this to say I'm an ally, me actually following through and making sure that this justice is served in this case so that the community gets healing, right? I'm not invested in that per se. Even the people that are allies, they never take it through to follow through with these cases, to see how these men are getting off, to see what is happening. And I feel like that's that conversation that needs to happen. But I feel like we need to remember that our fight is to help humanize ourselves to people that see us as animals for slaughter. Our fight to spaces where their conversation about our lives and us being killed is not rooted in cis women doing anything to us. Now, that was one part about what Giselle said that I may agree with. I don't agree that it is always rooted in just them. There are levels to this thing, right? Like, so I'm not going to sit here and say in this moment that it's rooted just specifically to them. Yes, the entire ecosystem is toxic, and women pride themselves on being the head of the Black family. So, the fish does stink from their head,
right?
But Black women are not as women, because that's what we do. We tear women in general. It's easy for us to critique each other, but it's harder to critique that husband we won't get rid of that's still beating on us. It's harder to get rid of those men we accept. And that's what I was trying to say earlier. We have to watch what we accept as women, period. Because the same men that are killing us and chopping us and throwing us up in the bodies are going home and laying next to you at night. So think about that. Think about you got somebody playing with your kids that's cutting up other people's kids. Think about somebody that's your baby daddy living in your house that's doing that. So we as women in general deal with men enacting violence on us. And this is not bashing Black men. This is being real and calling it attention to a real issue. Men are exacting violence on us, and we're so busy arguing with each other about why he did it that we're missing that we're all being killed. We're all being brutalized. We're all being victimized. We're all being hurt. And I would rather stand in solidarity with my sisters than try to use and leave them out of a conversation that doesn't include them, rather than bring them into a conversation where we're talking with each other and trying to get the world to see, and you're parsing words now to try to make a point. That's what I feel like some of those people on that podcast did, or one person in that podcast did. Mm-hmm. They were trying to prove a point. Like, you could just see them rolling their eyes and waiting for the next girl to comment.
Or not listen, or listening to respond instead of listening to actually
receive.
Right.
To understand and interpret and dialogue.
Right. And it's just, like I said, it's like, again, I think that particular person, they're a part of this narrative where trans women are birthed from the blueprint of cis women, and don't get me wrong, do I think we influence each other and we share stuff with each other? Yes,
for sure.
But I think this whole narrative of we come from them, or we like, that denies that we have existed since the beginning of time.
Well, it also makes this narrative like we just, like you said, we just showed up out of nowhere. Like y'all stole everything you are from them. No, we learned
we've been living alongside.
Trans people have been here since the beginning of the time.
Look at this thing from the disclosure that been acting in movies. All of the trans women that we are just finding out about who lived in the 1800s, in the early 1900s, even before that.
In ancient times, because I'm a history bitch.
Yeah.
In ancient times, we forget how in Africa there are cultures that have been existed since the dawn of humanity that embrace trans people.
That have purposely been erased from the narrative. That have purposely been X'd out. So to say that acting like we're just this new, like, it was this thing like, well, we cis women have just gotten there, right? So when trans women come on the block, it's like, oh damn, we're just getting our time to shine. I'm like, girl, we didn't just arrive here off a spaceship, hun.
We brought with you, like what you were saying.
Like,
there was another thing that we said, that the idea of that nobody's been around a trans person. Remember that?
Yeah, that whole statistic. I like how they brought it up, and I like how Autumn and some of the other girls have brought up that over like 80% of people have never met a trans person. That's a lie. That's a lie. I think that is a faulty statistic. I think it's a transphobic statistic. I think it's
because what you're implying is that 80% of people have been around somebody that they didn't know, that didn't tell them that they were trans, or that they couldn't see were trans.
Right.
So you don't know who the fuck is trans and who not. So then the idea that you can say definitively, I have never been around a trans person,
right,
lets me know that it lets me know that how you've ostraced yourself from the rest of the world.
Right. Like, we don't know who is trans or who is not. Why? Because people don't have to disclose to you if they don't want to. And you can't always physically tell if somebody is trans.
And let's be real, outside of having sex, why do you need to know?
Right.
Like, what world do we live in where we're not talking on the women's dresses on a regular basis? Where it is important for you to know, because if I were to go up to somebody and ask you, "Do you have a pussy?" It would be a problem. Right. I would be in jail. That would be considered sexual assault. So why then are people feel comfortable to talk about what's up under our dress, talk about our surgeries, ask us uncomfortable questions about our genitals? Like, at the end of the day, I love that Disclosure discussed it, and I love that the girl so eloquently on the Grapevine also readdressed that we are unique, we are individual, right, and that we all have different opinions. And that's why we started this topic out by saying that, because in no way are we saying because we disagreed with the sister, that's why we're not using her name, because we did use other names. So for those of you who catching that tea, we're not using her name on purpose, because the point is not to shame or to point at any one person. We're talking about a bigger problem, right, a bigger systematic thinking problem.
Because she is representative of, like I said before, she is representative of other trans women that think this way.
And I think that thinking is problematic, but I think the thinking is problematic. I'm not going to take that then to say cancel my sister, or somehow don't pay
but
her.
Just know, if you put your opinion into the universe, then other people,
like Autumn said,
yeah,
everybody's different,
right?
Some people don't mind being misgendered, some people do,
right? So again, this is not an attack on you as an individual, but some of the things that you said, it was kind of contradictory, because like you want to give all this homage to cis women, but yet you're sitting in this space with all of these Black trans women,
and you're doing it in a moment where we're talking about ourselves. The one time where we are,
right? Like,
this platform doesn't always let us on here, and they're often and while they have evolved, they've had an issue with representation in the past. Now you got 8 women on here, and you taking the time to bring in women who not here,
right? When
we're being killed. That's what we're talking about today,
right?
Sis, I don't know what this intersectional conversation and how it relates, but I feel like we do that sometimes.
That conversation is the opposite of intersectional,
and I feel like that's pandering.
Yeah, it's actually flattening the narrative. It's like, no, we are allowed to require more of people to show up for us,
especially when we're asking for the minimum, which is let us live.
Let us live. Let us live. Don't out us in the fucking club.
Don't share my photographs.
Right. Don't, like, that's the basic stuff. So, it also, like I said, I love the conversation from the Grapevine, and this is no shade to the panelists. One of the things I love about our podcast is that we're not trans. One.
Yeah.
I feel like that's like a passive aggressive, like that's kind of like gaslighting, because a lot of the
sea lining is actually what it is,
right? It is, but it's just like sometimes I try to listen. They train one question. I kind of misses the point to it just leaves us away from deeper conversations that are at the root of the question about trade. And
what is trade? Then the girls had to go one by one and express. Not why we're here. Or at least if it was so deep, one
translate platform root of the they kind of touched on the dynamics between cis men and Black trans women, but they didn't go deep enough to really get to the heart of why these murders are continuing to happen. Women against trans women, because we are really impacted by the same things. It's really about the Black cis men and community that enact about it. And I felt like had some of those questions been taken out and other questions been put in, it could have been an even deeper
panel.
Right.
I support all of my fellow sisters in their ministries and in your individual opinions, because we all have them and sometimes they stink. That is not in any way This is not in any way an attempt to take down anyone's narrative, but it's to add mine to the conversation and Brianna's.
Right.
When do you disclose? Those conversations when we're talking about death and when we're talking about bigger systemic issues, sometimes derail us. So then I'm now having to explain to you as if you don't have access to no library, and then when the person that you're talking to, the host or the person that's moderating, then ask you go, hello, 911, I'm being hurt, somebody's hurting me, and they go, okay, where are you? I'm inside the house. What color are the carpets?
Right.
Bitch, I don't give a fuck about these cars. I'm running from trying to hurt. Back us up. And we keep talking to the same operators that are asking us the same questions.
Right.
And that's the problem.
Right. But all in all, it was the Grapevine, and
it was really
good. It was a good episode. It was a great.
Shout out to the Grapevine.
Shout out to y'all. I hope this is not the last conversation that you do with Black trans women, because, like I said, there's so many additional things that we need to talk about. And we need the platform, or we need for your audience to see these we've been having amongst. Shout out to Mo. Shout out to Angelica. I can some of the ladies. Yeah, great. We said this is start anything. We're all adults. We can all. I don't. The time agree. We can all have of stuff that we do.
And if you're a then you be doing this. You're putting it out there to be received. You're able to be able to people opinion. That's why you want the clicks and the also have.
Right. Did you have what you wanted to? I guess it'll be a short grown. I'm gonna talk. So I'm gonna end it out hungry.
Part. That's
so we're gonna do is we're going to do core watch of the tonight. So you're just coming to the room, comment and coming to the room, going to watch party. What I'm gonna do is record this on day, Saturday, or Sunday. So thank you for coming out. You listen to it, and you guys next Friday.